Hello everyone, welcome to Red Snap and my name's MJ. We are continuing to carry the torch for Drewberry and this is Snap or Pass. Today we're looking at Sersi. She's a 5 energy, 7 power card with the on reveal ability. Transform your other cards here into random cards that cost 1 more, if able. So, we're going to be looking at some awesome deck ideas for you. We're going to be looking at all the counters, all of the synergies, and all of the interesting stuff that you can do with Sersi. But first of all, let's look at the Spotlight caches and the Spotlight cards that she is alongside. This is a low value week. We've got Phoenix Force as a Series 4 card, and we've got Meek as a Series 4 card. Both of those cards are very specific cards. Meek is in a couple of discard decks and can only be in discard decks. You're only going to use him there. Phoenix Force, literally only basically in one deck. And by the way, tangent time. Second Dinner need to bloody well fix that, to be honest. I hope that with some upcoming seasons, they do create more dual move and destroy cards. There's some really cool ideas. Like, imagine a card which has the ability, when this moves, destroy your other cards here. And then imagine reviving that with Phoenix Force. You just have this creature which is going around gobbling up all your destroy stuff, and it just gives you another reason to play Phoenix Force. So yeah, I would like to see Second Dinner making more cards that meld together two different archetypes. Anyway, so yeah, this is a slightly lower value Spotlight Cash week. However, Sersi herself is obviously a Series 5 card, as they all are these days. So overall, it's an interesting week. It's not the best week, to be honest. It is probably reasonably skippable if you don't have Meek and Phoenix Force. I mean, I do like Phoenix Force though. It's just not the best. What I'm trying to say, guys, is it's not the best week. Anyway, let's move on to actually talking about what Sersi is, what she does, and what she's good with in the mechanics. So she transforms all other cards at the location, so she doesn't transform herself. That would be very weird, and very good and probably quite broken because you're getting a free 6-drop out of it. The transformed cards will trigger their on reveals. We've seen this before with locations like Tarnax. I don't know if there's, yeah, that's a good point actually. I can't remember if there's any other things that I guess certain morph transforms, right? But yeah, we know this, guys. We know that they're on reveals, and she crucially will not be able to transform 6-cost cards until Arishem releases, like, what, 2 weeks after her? So Sersi's going to be in this slightly odd period for a small amount of time where she can't transform 6 costs, which means that your 6-cost cards reach this sort of barrier. They can't get up to that depth. However, when Arishem releases, we're going to have all the way up to 7 through to 8. So you're going to be able to transform Arishem, and then if you transform any you will be able to transform any 6-cost card into Arishem, and then you'll be able to transform Arishem into Death. We'll actually know the transform path. It's a bit like Pokemon in that way. It's not. So, pros. She's unpredictable. Your opponent is not going to know what she's going to be able to do. She is potentially absolutely crazy. Like the things that you... Let me just adjust the way I'm seating. Thanks. The way I'm seating in my chair. This is all very strange. I apologise. Yeah, the things that Sersi is going to be able to achieve is absolutely bonkers. Like, honestly, I'm so excited to talk about the decks and the synergies that we've got with Sersi, because I just think she's an extremely exciting card. Like, I really like these cards that are crazy, weird, and that allow for just the most mental things to happen. There's one card in particular that I just think is going to be bonkers with Sersi. Even if it's not that good, it's going to be super fun. And there's just lots of very strong synergies. That's basically what I just said, actually, is that there's just lots of very strong synergies. But there really is a lot of different cards that work very well with Sersi. Not only that, but as I'm showing on screen as well, locations. Look at Savage Land. Imagine turning Savage Land into, instead of your 2/1/1 Raptors, 2 2-cost cards. that's just pretty good on its own. You know, typically what a 2-cost card is going to have 3 power, so that's typically going to be a 4 energy bump just to those cards, and maybe you've got something else there as well. It's pretty cool. And of course, an even bigger swing would be the Ninja from Shadowland. Going from a -2 to probably a 3 is a 5 power swing. So there's some really beneficial locations here. Cons, she's unpredictable. So yeah, I put this in both pros and cons. You're going to get screwed over. You're going to turn Brood into Mr. Negative. And then actually 2 other 4-cost cards. Name 2 bad 4-cost cards. Maybe Jubilee and Dracula. Absolutely clogging your location, and maybe it just completely screws you over. In fact, that is one of the other cons that I've said, is that it might screw you over. Similar to Nocturne's random effects, it can easily fuck you up. Yeah, imagine turning a random 2-cost into Venom. Yeah? It's not actually the worst. Venom's not the worst. Kind of a bad example, but a Deathlock, there you go. Boom, you've just deleted your Sersi, and anything else at the location. So yeah, bad stuff can definitely go down. And she can lock you out of locations if she transforms random cards into things like Mr. Sinister, into Brood, into Professor X. Boom, your location gets filled and it locks you out. Now that might not be too bad sometimes. It might be okay. They might still struggle to actually reach the power levels that you're hitting in that location. But I think if you're blocking a location, it's going to screw you more often than not. Looking at counters for Sersi, there's really only a couple. Cosmo and Eliath were the only ones I could really truly think of. You know, when a card is transformed, that is currently irreversible. Now maybe there will be a card that comes out in future which reverses transformed cards. Maybe there'll be more locations that transform cards. Maybe there'll be more cards that transform cards. And so maybe we'll see a card that reverses transformations. Maybe that could be something like Scorn. Small spoiler, if you don't like spoilers, stop listening. Scorn is coming to the game soon in an upcoming Symbiote Season Pass. And Scorn's ability in the comics is that she can separate symbiotes from the hosts. Maybe she would have like a reverse transformation effect. It's possible, guys. But at the moment, Cosmo and Eliath, you've got to stop Sersi from happening, and those are the only things that are really truly going to stop her, you know. So this is the fun part, the key synergies and the deck ideas I've got for you guys. So something that we haven't touched upon yet is Electro and Ramp. We've just had in the previous season Blink and Blink into Electro, where we've now got pretty much exactly the same thing. We're playing down Electro on turn 3, and then on turn 5 we are playing a female from the Marvel Universe who is fixing our problem of Electro. In the previous season, it was Blink who was sticking Electro back in the deck and pulling out something bigger. Sersi is going to completely get rid of Electro, so that's good. We are removing the problem. I'm going to transform him into a 4-cost, so that's pretty good as well. Very similar kind of strategy there, and that's why one of our decks features both. Also, Mysterio. We can play down Mysterio as a 2-4, get that 2-4 power. We remember where the real Mysterio is. And then the Illusion, which is a 2-cost card, can get transformed into a free, F-R-E-E, a free 3-cost card. Pretty good. Then we have spoken about Brood a little bit. Brood and Absorbing Man. These are the ones. These are the ones, guys. Brood and then into Sersi is crazy. You're getting 3 4 energy cards out. I just think that's super cool. But let's take it one further. Let's say you're Brood and then you're Absorbing Man. You can then play Sersi on this Absorbing Man location. You're going to get the 2 3-cost Broods are going to go up to 2 4s, and then your Absorbing Man's going up to a 5. So you're going to have 2 5s there and 2 4s there. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty interesting. Yes, you'll be blocking the location, but are you really losing there? Bloody possible, but hopefully not. And then also, Jubilee seems good. You're pulling something out. You're changing not only the thing that you pull out into something even higher cost, but you're changing Jubilee, who is, as a 4-1, obviously terrible stat line. You're changing her into something probably very good as a 5-cost card. So I think that's going to be really cool. And then the other element to this, which is a deck that we've got as well, is the clog side of things. So Sentry, creating that 4 energy, -8 power void, you're going to be able to completely flip it. So you still keep your 8 power from Sentry, and then you get a free 5 cost out of it as well. Very, very cool. And so, do you know what? Let's talk about these decks out of order. Considering I'm already talking about Clog, let's talk about Walton Cloggins. Why is it called Walton Cloggins? Well, Walton Cloggins rhymes with Walton Goggins, and Walton Goggins is in Ant-Man, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we've got Yellow Jacket in this deck. Yeah, I know. Some of my puns and names for decks are gross and disgusting, and that's why you should subscribe. So, yeah, Walton Cloggins. Let's talk about it, guys. We've got Yellow Jacket. We've got Yellow Jacket, which can be played on Hood for extra shenanigans, or Yellow Jacket can be played on your Debris Rocks to make them go down in energy. And then you've got Annihilus. So one course of action you can do with this deck is sending over all those clogged stuff. What happens if you don't draw Annihilus? In these styles of decks, you used to be able to do like a Death Strike. Death Strike has been slightly nerfed. She's a little bit weaker now. And this isn't about Death Strike anyway. This is about transforming those things. So maybe you've got Hood on the right. Maybe you've got White Widow on the right as well. Maybe you've played Debris, so you're trying to fill up their side of it. And you've created a Rock on the right. Get that Sersi down. She's going to transform all of those things. And of course, bearing in mind, White Widow has already had her primary benefit of giving them the Widow's Kiss. And the Debris Rock was free. So you're just ticking up this extra power there. Especially if you're playing Sentry as well. That location, that side is going to be really good. And that means you only need to win one other location. So maybe you do that with an Eliath or a Red Hulk. So I think Clog is going to be really interesting and really cool. And I've got the randomness of Pixie in here as well. Ace. Now let's talk about Blink 1 is 2. Blink 1 is 2. I don't think I need to explain the pun here, guys. But Blink 182 is the name of a band that old people like me. And do you know what? I actually came up with the name for this deck. Because obviously you blink stuff in this deck because we've got that combo that I spoke about a minute ago. But you also transform 1-cost cards into 2-cost cards. And in the first version I had of this deck, I didn't even have a 1-cost card. So I was like, well, I can't call it that then, but I have to call it that. Anyway, so you've got some Zooey style stuff in your early game with Squirrel Girl and Mysterio. You're getting that stuff down. But then you can also do this ramp style stuff with Wave and with Jubilee and with Blink. So you can then blink things in. You've also got Leech in here, very dirty. And then finally you can do either the Electro into Sersi or the Electro into Blink. Or you can do Jubilee into Sersi. And Sersi hits hopefully a Squirrel and a 2-cost Illusion. So it's a weird deck. I know it's a weird deck. It's kind of this weird combination between filling locations with Squirrel Girl, Mysterio and Doom, but also then transforming the stuff and ramping stuff. So it's a weird one. There's also an interesting interaction here. Wave into Doom will then allow you to Sersi a location, and maybe even the Wave location, and this will be after Arishem is out because your Doombot is at least going to tick up to a 7. Right, but then maybe you could Odin. Maybe you got like Magic's turn 7 limbo stuff is happening. So then you can Odin the Sersi, and it's going to tick off. What's that going to do? I sort of just heard a gunshot. That was weird. Hopefully it's not a gunshot. Hopefully it's just a car backfiring. Fine. Yeah, Odin on Sersi is going to tick up the Arishem to death. So that's good. Words. Seems cool. Weird one, but a cool one. And then finally, I've got Greedy Sersi. So this is a Chaos deck. We have got things like Ironheart in here, which is a card that we definitely want to transform with Sersi because she's only a 3/0. So you can get her out and get the benefit already. Hopefully before Ironheart, you've played Mysterio or Mr. Sinister and or Spider-Ham. So you've got 3 cards out that can benefit from her buff. Or maybe you're doing Shanna. You're sticking some 1-cost cards in locations. If you Shanna, you're going to have a 3-cost card and a 1-cost card in the location that you play Shanna, and you can play Sersi on top of that, getting dem increases. But we've also got crazy shenanigans going on here with some of the typical combos like Brood and Absorbing Man. We've got Iron Lad and we've got Wong. So crazy things can happen with this deck, and it's just all about being greedy and getting those big transforms via stuff like Mr. Sinister. Maybe Mr. Sinister somewhere. Iron Lad that location, and then Sersi that location. I don't know. There's another super weird one, but hopefully you think that looks fun and enjoyable. Who knows? But the ultimate question is, snap or pass? Is Sersi a snap or pass? I think she's a snap. Do you know what? I think she's a snap because I just think she's crazy fun. I think she is strong. I think even if you're not taking advantage of her in the ways that we discussed with things like, I don't know, Brood or Ironheart or any of these cards that we discussed, even if you're not doing that, she might be alright. If you're playing her on top, unless you're, playing her on top of, the cards that you wouldn't play her on top of is things like Rescue and Jessica Jones. Obviously you wouldn't do that kind of thing, but there's plenty of other cards that you might well want to transform in random decks if you get her from a random location or from your opponent's deck, whatever. I think she's cool. I think she's interesting. I think she is potentially strong, and I think she's going to lead to some very fun decks. I don't actually know if I'm getting her myself yet though. I think she's a good card and I do want her, but it depends how I get on in my Athena week. I'm rolling for Spotlight Caches in Athena week. If I happen to get Athena in one, I may well go for Sersi. We'll see. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Are you going to go after Sersi? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.